Let's rescore a trailer. Let's rescore a trailer for fun. Please ignore my awful cable management. It's in the process of being figured out. For this, I grabbed up a random movie trailer, muted it, and put my own personal score over top. Now, keep in mind, since this is a muted trailer, there is not going to be any dialogue. The trailer I'm going to be using today is Marty Supreme 2025. It's a pretty intense movie scored by Daniel Lopatin, if I'm saying that correctly. It's actually Lopatin, I'm pretty sure. I just looked it up. So yeah, I wasn't pronouncing it correctly, and I will continue to pronounce it Lopatin throughout this video, so... He also did the score for Uncut Gems, which is an absolute masterpiece of a score. Both directed by Safdie brothers, one or both, or... Apparently I also can't pronounce Safdie brothers. Yeah, this video is a mess. I swear, I know what I'm talking about. Safdie 1 and Safdie 2. Safdie brothers? God, this is embarrassing. But with that, this trailer has a lot of intense cuts and visual intensity, so I want to keep that vibe in the score. It would be cool if I completely changed the genre, but not today. I feel like it's hard to change the genre when you're not also editing the trailer. First things first, what I like to do is find a relative BPM that looks like maybe where the cuts are gonna be, especially with like trailers. I saw it anywhere between 100 to 110. Maybe 90 to 110. So we're going to keep that in mind. Next, I created markers to map out important parts of this trailer, like the climax and specific hits that I want to take note of later on. Once I have those markers, I am locking them down into the SMPTE or the SMPTE. SMPTE. Do you guys say SMPTE or SMPTE? I don't know why you would not go with the shorter option. So the reason we're going to be locking these down is so that when we do decide to start changing the BPM and time signature, it's not going to move my markers around and screw up my timing that I work so very hard on. Once I've locked these markers down, I think I personally like starting off with percussion, like hits and punches, just so I can get a beat mapping type beat. It's getting dark. Okay, this looks better. I'm using Contact for a lot of my hits, orchestral, cinematic, whatnot. I'm also using BBC Symphony Orchestra for a lot of them because those orchestral hits are very necessary. I like to make sure I'm sifting through frame by frame and placing these exactly where they need to be because we want nice timing. Like I mentioned earlier, the Safdie brothers, whatever, we're talking about Daniel Lopatin. I really hope I'm saying that right. He likes to use a lot of magical, maybe even unsettling synthesizers at many points. I think I want to keep that vibe for this trailer. So let's throw in some cool synth chords, drones, etc. For some of these shots, I wanted the music to drop out completely and have more intense rising percussive elements. Like this clock sound I have. I think this creates cool anxiety feelings. And threw a lot of reverb on it to make it more cinematic. Then I created this kind of like reverbed out, muffled, swelling drum line. But I'm putting these here because these are kind of rising tension moments before my climaxes. Speaking of rising tension, I threw in some risers. Again, this trailer is muted. I muted it. I did. So you don't have any dialogue. But that doesn't mean we can't anticipate the areas that need to come down sonically to give room for dialogue. So like here, 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 and here. On that note, muting the trailer also mutes sound effects and Foley. So I wanted to add that back in. in just specific parts, not the entire thing. Here's all the areas that I felt real world sound would really help this trailer. Like with this bowling hit and this doorbell and these crowd clips. But I'm going to shove it pretty far back to not be so distracting. With the cheering and the chanting sounds, I really liked it. So at the end where their final scene is happening, it's the tournament, I wanted to draw out that chanting to the title card because the title card hits like bam, bam. And I think some chanting through this title card would really set the tone for the tournament, what the movie has been building up for all this time. I also added a heartbeat sound because it doesn't hurt to be completely and utterly literal when it comes to trailers. It's almost like Marty's heart beating because he's so worried that he's not going to get what he wants. Amongst those sound effects, I added in 2 hits and a Brahm. And if you don't know what a Brahm is, this is a Brahm. Other than minor mixing and automation adjustments that I still need to do, I think this came out pretty cool. But here's basically the idea that we came up with. Yes, this is me and you. This was a group endeavor, actually. Now, here's my take on the Marty Supreme trailer. All right, that's it for this video. I am so sorry I have been so absent on YouTube. I'm not absent on TikTok as much, but long form content is pretty hard to keep up with, especially right now. Other than that, if you liked this scoring video, if you like my other videos, if you have any suggestions for videos in the future, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much. But this is it for the video. I hope you learned something. Bye.